Hello Mikko, you wanted to have a discussion on the album cover artists. And let's start by saying that there are only 5 artists that I can name, and they are Roger Dean, Hipgnosis, Ken Kelly, Jim Fitzpatrick, and Derek Riggs. Obviously, there are plenty of times when the bands don't use just one artist to make their album covers. So even if you like one album, it doesn't mean that the rest of the album covers are made by them, and it may be difficult or even impossible to find another album cover made by that same artist. And then there are surprising difficulties, like with The Cure. I like The Cure cover art, but when you look at the credits, all there is a small drawing of a teacup. So who's that? Then there was the question of whether the size between the LP and CD matters. Well, when you have an album cover like this one, which is full of small details, obviously if you compress this one to the size of a CD, you're going to lose a lot on it. But when you have an album cover like this one, or this one, what are you going to lose on this one? Is nothing. So the obvious answer is that it depends on the album cover. However, there are ways where the album cover art is very important, and the obvious thing is compilations. There are plenty of artists by whom there are hundreds of compilations, so to decide on which one to go with can be a difficult thing. But looking at the album cover art, like this one, you only need to take one look at it and you can see that there is a thought and care put into them. So you know that they're not just some hodgepodge of songs put together. There's a thought put into them. So that's an excellent way of deciding on which compilation to buy. There are 2 ways of deciding. Well, obviously there are more than it, but there are 2 main ways of deciding which album to buy when I first get to know some artist. And one is time. If I get to know some band which started during the 60s, I won't start by buying their albums from the 80s. And the other is the album cover art. So what I do is, for example, if I hear one song on the radio, I found out from which album that song is from, and I go looking for that one. But when I come to the store, if that artist has several albums, I have a quick look at all of them. So, for example, like this. And I usually choose the one that the album cover art appeals to me the most. So even if it's not the one that I originally intended to buy, I usually go with the one that the album cover art appeals to me the most. And after that, the way I usually work is that, for example, if I would have bought Give Me Back My Bullets, usually I would say that the next album probably would have been nothing fancy. So I start buying from around the album that I first bought. A very good example on how that worked was about a couple of years ago when I went to buy Marshall Tucker band. I actually didn't know anything about them other than them being a southern rock band. So the store had several of their albums, and I had a look at their album covers, and I ended up choosing this one, Long Hard Ride. And it turned out to be a really good one. So yeah, basically I chose this solely on based the album cover. And I have to say that choosing albums based on the album cover has been remarkably successful. I would say that the vast majority of times when I have chosen album based on the album cover, it has worked. Not every time, of course, but on the vast majority of times, it has worked well. So more than just looking at the album cover at home while listening to the album, I would say that the choosing factor on which album to buy, I would say, is the most important thing to me on the album cover. Okay, hopefully this has given you some thoughts. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.